so we're going to start today's class with a book talk. We have Matt. She's going to share an awesome book with us, so let's make sure to give her our attention. Yes, we have a book talk today. Great. So the book talk that I did is called "This is the Flame of Fire," the Flame of Olympias, and it's about a girl named Emily who is in a tragic storm, and she has to be by herself because her dad's a police and her mom died when she was younger. So she gets prepared if the power goes out or if the electricity goes out, and she hears something on top of the roof. And Emily drew on her long raincoat, reached for the apartment keys and made for the door. As a quick afterthought, she grabbed her dad's baseball cap from a closet beside the door. With only the single beam from the flashlight to show her the way, Emily climbed the stairs. She heard hushed sounds of footsteps and chiming voices as more of the building occupants made the stairwells to get to their homes. This isn't smart, the lightning's up there, she told herself. Once again, part of her wasn't listening. She made it to the top of the access stairs and faced the locked door that led directly out to the roof. Clutching the bat in one hand and with the flashlight tucked under her arm, Emily struggled to get the key in the lock. When she managed to turn it, the door opened a fraction. Suddenly, the wind caught hold and raised the door to the height. The door opened widely and made trouble crashing sound as it was nearly torn off its hinges. So much for being quiet, she shuddered herself. Emily stepped into the flowing rain and started passing a beam of light over the rooftop, searching for fire. It had been before almost a year since she's been up there. The whole area was badly overgrown, surrounded. Strange vines had taken hold, covering the once lovely tender flower bed. The vegetable garden was unrecognizable in the dark, with the storm at its peak. It was no longer the garden Emily knew. Instead, it was a dark and frightening place filled with mystery and danger. Through the noise of the pounding rain, Emily heard another sound. It was the thumping again. Only this time there was more. It was as she strained to listen above the terrible weather, she was sure she had heard whining or the sound of someone or something crying out in pain. Before, when she passed the beam of light over the wild garden, to Emily, right was the large rose patch. There, and this had been her mother's pride and joy, even summer without fail. Their apartment had been filled with the fractions of the fresh cut flower her mother had grown here. Now the rose bush had run wild and were floating out over the roof. A sudden movement in the rose caught Emily's attention. Directing the light back, she thought she saw the glimpse of gold. She inched closer and kept the lightning train on the bush. There, the flash of gold again. Taking another nervous step, Emily took and held up the bat. Whoever you are, come out there. As she took another tense step, a blinding bolt of lightning crashed into the sky. The entire group of it was dazzling in light, and what Emily saw in the rose garden was impossible. She stumbled backwards, lost her footing, and fell hard to the ground. It's not real, she told herself, rising to her hands and knees. She reached for the flashlight. You didn't see what you just saw. It's just a storm playing tricks on you, that's all. Shining the light once again in the direction of the rose bush, her heart was pounding so badly she thought she might pass out. Climbing instantly to her feet, she crept forward. It's not real, Em, it's not real, she repeated over and over again as she drew near. She didn't see anything, but when the light found its mark, she couldn't deny the truth. It was real. A huge white horse was lying on the side, on the middle of the road, crying. What had flying to the beam of the flashlight was one of the horse's hooves. As Emily looked, she sucked in her breath. It was gold. Raising the flashlight, she received an even greater shock. This book I would recommend a 5 out of 5 because it gets you to imagine a lot and get a clear image of the story, and it goes back and forth of a war and a war of Olympia and what's going on in Earth. And
awesome. Does anyone have any questions about this book? Is it one of the series or is it just one?
It's a series.
Very cool. So if you want to check that book out, make sure to come talk to Kenna and she can give you some good advice on whether or not that's a good book. Seems like it is. All right, so what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be doing our notebook write. Typically, I usually just give you the prompt and you start writing, but today I want you guys to help each other come up with ideas for what to write about. So pull out your notebook and write this question. Right, what makes Crane Man a good caretaker for Tree Ear? Okay. So once you have that question written down, I'm going to pass out these little pink slips and let you know what you're going to be doing with them. So the way our room is set up is there are 6 different there's tons of tables, but they're in groups, right? We have 6 small groups. Yep. So I have 3 questions that I want us to focus on. I'm going to give 1 question to every table. So there's obviously going to be 3 questions that are doubles. So one group is going to have what Crane Man does. The other group is going to have what Crane Man says. And the third group is going to have what others say or think about Crane Man. So when I give you the little pink slip, I want you with your group to read the question and read the examples. I gave you some quotes from the book. And write down a couple of observations on this pink sheet. Okay? When you have those written down, you can start brainstorming. What makes Crane Man a good caretaker for Tree Ear? Write down your observations. After like 5 minutes of brainstorming with your group, I'm going to have you stand up with your notebook, walk around, and look at what other people wrote. Okay? What you should have by the end of that is at least 2 specific reasons for why he would be a good caretaker and 1 example from the text. So either an experience that you read about on one of these sheets or a quote that you really liked. Okay? So when I give you your pink sheet, make sure to start brainstorming with your group. And please write on the pink sheet because your peers are going to want to read what you wrote. This is going to be really great so that when you have a little bit more time to write on your notebook, you'll have a lot more time. So what makes Crane Man a good caretaker? Is it based on things he says, based on things he does? How do people interpret? What do they think about things? All right. So, read more. Okay.
By the things they say.
Should we read
Or
it?
by the things they do. Or by the things others
Sweet. So you guys have what Crane Man does. So you want to read off the examples. There's 2 examples of what he does.
From his waist pouch, Crane Man took a handful of grain he had gathered in the woods early that morning. He grabbed them in his hand and told his nose. That's he listened to the close your hand, Crane Man. Squeeze so that you feel like you're using the entry.
know better. That tells you about Crane. You know about Crane based on the
He knew what would happen. Would want to get free and take out the
Okay, so
that his friends spend the entire day.
okay, so he thinks that some things are wrong. How would you describe him as a person based on that? Praying man is when he says stealing and begging make a man no better than a dog. That shows about praying man that he was. Okay, so he's not a thief. So praying man is not a thief. Basically, he's not a person. Okay, so he's a person who doesn't steal. You usually refer to a person who won't steal that.
Just say he's a good teacher. Say he's a good teacher.
What?
That doesn't pay. But it's okay.
Honest? Be honest.
And why
So
would
praying man is honest and won't
that
steal.
mean the school's wasting $1,000 something bucks?
Okay, so that's one thing. Is that, do you think that right there qualifies makes him a good caretaker? Okay, so we've discovered one thing, and we have an example of that. Praying man's a good caretaker for tree or quiet. Well, because he's honest and won't steal. How do you know that? Well, because when he says in the story, because we have a claim that praying man's a good caretaker, a reason because he's honest and won't steal. And evidence. In the story, he says, let's look at one other thing he says. Work gives a man dignity, stealing takes it away. What does that tell you about it? Work gives a man dignity, stealing takes it away. What else would he say?
So do you think understanding what the type of things praying man does for tree year lets you understand why
That
or why
quality
not,
that makes
why
him a
he
good
wants to be a good
caretaker,
caretaker?
hard worker. You see what I'm doing here? He says, scholars read the great words of the world, but you and I must learn to read the
Yeah,
world
he's pretty,
itself.
he's actually a toddler, he's 2 years old.
Why?
So he gets dropped out for praying man, and you would think, I probably wouldn't leave the baby with like a famous
So
person.
when we look
But
at these,
what kind of a person is
are
that?
these things that make him a good caretaker for children? They are. So we have reasons that we could use the part that praying man is a good caretaker for children. When you get to start writing, you'll use these plus other things that you see. So here's what you need to do. Write these 3 things down in your notebook. And in a minute, you're going to get up and go walk around and see if other people said other things about praying man that also will support that he's
So if you like some of the
see what we're doing? And when you get enough stuff, you'll start writing why praying man makes a good character.
So if you guys talked about pretty good stuff, write down some of the reasons.
The person indicate that quality makes him a good caretaker for trees.
Write down some of the reasons.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. So you've got the things that he says.
So I would write those down in your notebook, so when you're going around, you can see what other people wrote. Write down
What other things say about praying?
Write down, you thought those were some good observations, write down in your notebook. What is praying man a good caretaker? Just fit your
You know what
reasons for
I
what you
like
think.
about this?
Write it down.
When a monk came to fetch you, hey, you know what I like about this part? When a monk came to fetch tree here a few months later, he would not leave. He clung
Abby,
to
what did your
praying
group
man's
talk
leg
about?
like a monkey to a tree. He wouldn't let go. How old was
Do
Tree?
you agree with some of the statements? Write one down. I think it was a good one.
So he's 2. What does it tell you about praying man that a 2-year-old doesn't want to leave him? I mean, is that it? Yeah, I mean, 2-year-olds are not very discriminating, are they? They don't like something, they let you know really loudly. So the fact that the 2-year-old tree would not let go of praying man tells you why.
Okay, so I'm seeing everybody has at least 2 good observations. So what you're going to do now is, let's pretend this is my notebook. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to be thinking, what makes praying man a good caretaker? I'm going to walk around and see what other people wrote. If I think, oh, that's a great reason, I'm going to write it down. If I see a quote that would help me have an example, I'm going to write it down, okay? So you need at least 2 reasons and 1 example. Once you have that, come sit down and expand on it. So if somebody wrote, tree ear is a wise, like he's really wise, write that down, but then sit down and tell me why is he wise? What makes him wise? If you write down that he's kind, tell me why he's kind. What lets you know he's kind? What kind of examples can you share? Okay, so everybody should stand up with their notebook, go around and look at what other people wrote. Yeah. I saw some really great ones. All of these things.
Hey, you're in front of the camera, dude.
Oh, my bad.
This is not going viral, buddy. It's going to Miss Bailey's student teaching class.
Is that like, what is that?
It's like cream cheese and strawberry junk.
Now they know what that is.
All right, Jado. Keep your notebook around. Write some
I wrote something down.
Awesome.
I'm gonna put it on that.
Look for at least one good example. It could be a quote, it could be part of the story.
Breakfast.
So once you have your 2 reasons and your 1 example, come sit down and expand on those ideas.
Write it as a paragraph.
Yes, expand, write it as paragraphs. You should have a lot to write about. You've been looking at a lot of great quotes, a lot of great comments. Alright guys, so make sure you come sit back down and expand on the reasons you wrote down.
Now you're gonna write a paragraph or 2 arguing why Kramer makes a good caretaker. You have plenty of reasons and lots of evidence. You don't have what? Well, you know, in some cases, it does seem a little bit one-sided. Is there an opposite argument to Kramer as a caretaker? What? So he's not a good caretaker. Is there a lot of evidence to support this? Just one thing. What is it? Only argument.
Should be able to make this, each reason you can make it into a whole paragraph, right? So you
That's
said,
an argument, but
you know, the ones you wrote.
I think people with evidence on the opposite
Yes.
side.
Yeah, so expand on that, like what kind of things like, you know, he's selfless,
You could
what
argue
kind of
that he's
things
not
make a selfless person?
But we're asking
You know, like always willing to go find food for them, whether or not he's able to find that. You know, when Crayman cuts his hand, does he help him or does he just
you could address
he
that.
goes out, finds the herbs and puts them on him, right? So expand, there's lots of things you can do.
Scars aren't cool. Not face scars. Or should you have like a big strong,
Kind of explore that with you guys.
my scar on my nose. His face on the wall. So hard. No, his face on the wall. Yeah, I was trying to walk him down and I was looking at some of the backpacks. Like trying to really?
Did you stop?
No, did it stop? It stopped? No, it's still going.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you guys 2 more minutes to write in those examples. Expand on your reasons. This sounds like argument, doesn't it? We are picking a side. Usually I'll say, you guys pick whether you want to agree with this or not, but today we're agreeing. We're picking a side. We agree he's a good caretaker. Now we found some reasons why, and now you're expanding on that evidence, those examples. Okay, take another 20 seconds to wrap up on the sentence that you are working
So
on.
it looks big. Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
Hey, this is something you can return to if you feel like you're just getting started at explaining all this about Crane Man. You're always welcome to return to it during your work time.
Correct. And you will have quite a bit of work time today.
okay, so what we're going to be doing next is transitioning into argument. A little bit more about argument. So over the past few days, we've been looking at kind of step by step, right? We looked at what makes a claim, we looked at some good examples, and then we looked at how do you come up with reasons. We talked about whether or not PE should be required. But today we're going to move into evidence. We did an example as a class, but today I want to make sure that you know how to identify a claim, how to identify reasons, and how to identify evidence by yourselves, because that's going to be really important for our future. So when you get this sheet, this is a little article called Friday Night Lights Out. Please make sure to write your name and class period at the top. When you get it, write your name on it, class period. So I know this is looking big, but it's really going to be pretty simple once I Sure you did. You were looking. You did. All right, guys. So your name, class period should be at the top. Okay, so this is an article about football. So the directions are as follows. Okay, so what we're going to be doing are 3 big things. We're going to identify a claim, identify the reasons, and identify evidence. The only thing that I want to show you guys how to do, I don't want to identify the claim for you or the reasons, but I am going to identify how to label the evidence, right? Because when you find the claim, you need to circle it and write claim. Okay, remember a claim states the topic or the issue, and it tells us what side are they on. So should we do this? Shouldn't we do that? We shouldn't do this. They'll pick a side that they're arguing for. Finding the claim is like going to be the best way to start because you'll know, okay, they're for this issue or they're against it. And then when you find the reasons, you're going to underline the reasons and put a star next to it. That way I know you know what the reasons are. And when you find the evidence, you're going to put a box around it and you'll label it. Is it facts, data and statistics? Is it judgment, your own reasons for it, your own reasoning behind it? Is it testimony, a quote from an expert? Or is it an example? Is it a story or experience? So I want to do the first page as a class. And the only thing that I'm going to model for you guys is how to find that evidence. So as I'm circling stuff, make sure you're keeping up with me, okay? So it says Friday night lights out. Participation in high school football is declining amid growing concerns over the long-term effects of concussions. What does that mean for the future of America's most popular sport? So we already know that this first statement or this first line in question are what? Okay, did somebody say topic or issue? I think I heard a whisper. Yeah, so this is our topic. So everyone should write topic next to this. You guys see that pretty well? Okay, so now we're going to start reading what it's about. So it says, when Clayton Cohan collided with his teammate helmet to helmet during high school football practice last fall, his first instinct was to go right back up, to get right back up and keep playing. Though he felt dizzy and had a large bump on the back of his head, Clayton did not want to risk being seen as weak and potentially lose his position as a starting linebacker. That was always my mindset, says Clayton, now a 17-year-old senior at Briarwoods High School in Ashburn, Virginia. When you would hit someone and saw stars and you felt dizzy after the play, that was seen as a good thing, a good hit. Nobody was telling me about how bad concussions were. But the next day, Clayton realized that something might be seriously wrong. As he walked through the halls of his high school, he couldn't recognize a single face, not even those of students he'd known for years. Sitting in class later, his head started spinning. He felt nauseated, confused, and out of body. Though the symptoms mostly went away after a few weeks, they returned this summer, while Clayton was going through hitting drills at a football camp. So before the start of school, he decided to quit the sport he'd been playing since he was 6 years old. So let's take a pause right here. What kind of evidence is this article starting us off with? What do you guys think? There are only 4 types of evidence. Which one is this one? What do you guys think? I'm thinking it's an example. It's a story. Remember, example are stories or experience. So we're going to circle that and write example. We know it's a story. Okay? So one key thing to pay attention to that's a little bit different is articles are going to be a lot longer than what you're going to have to be writing, right? As an essay, it'll be probably half, if not a little less than half of what this article is. So this article is going to start us off a little different. It's not going to start us off with the first line being the claim, right? It's going to have a slight build-up. So this is building us up with a story. So let's keep reading and let's identify a couple more types of evidences that are in this article together. So let's keep going. So if you haven't labeled it story, label it story. Okay, it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, Clayton says, but I'm very glad I did it. I'm not going to let 1 year of high school football determine the way the rest of my life goes. Clayton is far from the only high school football player who has recently decided to hang up his cleats over concerns about concussions. So, as new evidence reveals more about the long-term effects of repeated blows to the head, participation in high school football is declining. It's down by about 7% nationwide from 10 years ago. So I'm spotting another great piece of evidence. So let's make sure to put a box around this sentence right here. So this is a great piece of evidence. It's giving us an exact number, a statistic. So what kind of evidence is it? Yes. Oh, put it up. Okay, it is a fact, right? And we know it's a fact because it's telling us 7%. So that's a fact. So far, we've identified 2 pieces of evidence. Let's keep reading, okay? As a growing chorus of people, including some scientists, former players, and lawmakers, are convinced that playing tackle football is a bad idea and that young people should not do it, we don't have any more excuses. The proof is out there, says Oren Starn, an anthropology professor at Duke University and an expert on American sports culture. So we're going to put a box around that as well, and we are going to label this testimony because it has the quotes from the expert, right? So these let you know it's a quote whenever there's those 2 little quote marks. So you're probably going, okay, Mrs. Bailey, now you've helped me find some evidence, but you haven't told me what the claim is. I'm not going to tell you what the claim is because I want you to tell me what it is. So when you find the claim, you're going to circle it, write claim. When you find the reasons, which are about to come up, you'll underline them and put a star next to it. And then you're going to find 4 more types of evidence. They can be all facts, they can be facts, testimony, examples, or judgment. They can be a mix of them. I just want to make sure you know how to identify at least 4. So does anyone have any questions about how or why these evidence are labeled the way they are, or what you should be doing next? No questions? Do you feel pretty confident that you can find the claim, you can find the reasons and evidence?
Where do you think you're most likely to find that claim?
The next section.
So yeah, it's going to be the claim. Most likely is probably part of the intro, what we might have just read, and then the reasons. Usually you do claim, reasons, evidence. Right? So look for those. I will be coming around to help you individually if you're having some trouble. But yeah, so you're going to look for the claim, reasons, 4 types of evidence. If you finish that before the bell, which you should be able to, I want you to pull out your single shard and work on your booklet responses for chapter 5. Okay? So finish the article annotations, turn it into the box, pull out your single shard, and do the booklet responses.